All right, let's do it.
But okay, here we go. But I wanted to ask you, what made you start thinking about civics? You
So
know,
go ahead.
no, I was just saying, it's so amazing. I don't remember what year it was, how long it was, but you had me on that. I don't know if it was the first one I was, but you had it was like it was a classroom setting, and you was at the board, at like a chalkboard, and you was asking the class about voting, and you were
hmm
telling them why it's so important. So, what made you go there?
So
So,
initially, my cousin was running for Congress in my hometown, and she asked me to make a song about voting. And at the time, I was very young, and I didn't even believe in the system at all. You know what I mean? So I had no civic understanding. I was like anti-government. I was a radical young rapper. You know what I'm saying? So my mind wasn't
really?
like, yeah, my mind wasn't like, let's vote. My mind was like, cuz don't come here with that. You know what I mean? They don't care about us. You know what I'm saying? They don't. I don't believe in the system. I even went and voted for Obama back in 2012 or 2012, and I felt like nothing happened in my life. You know what I'm saying? So, like, what are we talking about? And then she was like, well, why don't you believe in the system? Why don't you think voting is important? You know what I'm saying? I explained that to her. She said, well, what's some stuff you would want to see change? And I started to list them, the stuff in my community. Like, my family's still broke. It's potholes in the street. You know what I mean? Minimum wage is too low. I started listing them. And then she started with all of the different things that could change that. And it was all laws that had nothing to do with the president. So I was like, so when she explained it to me, I realized how tangible voting was, as far as like how we can reach solutions without
Right.
going federal. You know what I mean? And I didn't even understand how that worked. So once I understood it and I realized we couldn't escape the government, you know what I mean? It became a passion for me. It's like, okay, I felt stupid for even being on the other side of it because I'm feeding into the ignorance. You know what I mean? I'm literally preaching defeat, you know what I mean? And not solutions. So once I understood that, that's when I got deeper into learning, and she taught me everything about it, and I taught it to my community, and we here now.
You did an excellent job. And I'm
Thank
still trying to remember, how did we connect? And then on the way here, I said, okay, it's because he's out there. You're traveling a long distance electronically, and I'm grateful for that. But there had to be the epitome that you just told me about, because when you spelled it out, I was like, oh yeah, that's it. Because you were saying, do you know what happens at the local level? And we got to get people in it. You were linear with it, and you just spelled it out. And I said, that's just perfect. And so
thank
now I'm happy to know, the story behind, where you are now. And I'm grateful for that. And I was thinking, gosh, I wish I could get him to do a video for me. I'm not asking, but it was nice. Just not really for me, but for the people in North Carolina.
hmm
So I'm thinking as a whole, even though I'm running for North Carolina Senate, but I'd like to do whatever I can to help you get your voice out politically. Can we
hmm
work with that?
Well,
Seriously.
I have a lot of different things that I'm doing in the space of civic education, and I think that's probably your most concern is like, okay, the people that I represent, that I want to show up, don't even believe in the system. So how do we get them politically engaged? So I have a documentary called Simplify, and I've screened it a few times around the country. I did it at Morehouse. I did it.
Mm-hmm.
In LA, I did it in Atlanta. I did it in a lot of different places at TSU. So that documentary is me. Literally, it's like the song, except it's a full length documentary, and I'm breaking down the system in a way that is super simple for people who don't understand all the political mumbo jumbo and the big words, and you know what I mean. They don't even understand judicial, legislative, and executive.
I
They don't
get it.
none of that.
Yes.
They
Yes.
understand the community, and I'm bringing politics to a very simple level so for people to understand. So maybe that's something we could set up, like a screening or something in North Carolina. What part of North Carolina?
Well, North Kakalaki, Winston-Salem. I know you've heard that word, North Kakalaki. So I'm in Winston-Salem.
But yeah, maybe that's something I'm sorry. I was just saying maybe that's something we could do. Set up a screening. I got children's books and card games that I'm where I'm helping people understand. Because I think at the end of the day, the biggest reason why people don't vote is just because they don't think it's important, and they don't think it's important because they're not educated on what the vote even does and everything behind it. So I think once we increase the education in it, then we'll get a much better turnout.
Whatever you want in North Carolina, we're going to make sure that it happens. But what you're saying, I just absolutely adore you. This is amazing.
Appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Forgive me if I keep thanking you. Because it's important. You don't run into young people, you know, like you who get it, who understand it. You know, so basically what you're telling me is that this already exists somewhat, but let's go ahead and do more with it, okay? Like you're saying. And Miss Faith over there, she's just laughing and stuff. I'm just so excited. But you know, but anyway, I just really, really appreciate you and what you're doing. And you're already famous. But if I can do something to let people, nobody has ever put it. I've got a master's degree in tax law, and I haven't heard some teachers spell it out to the public the way you've done. And that's important. Take those accolades because it's true. I've worked and lived all around the world, and I've never heard it how you're doing it. So it's just really great. And also I want to talk about this. The most recent one that I heard is probably not your most recent video. And I was talking to a friend of mine about it. Do you have an inkling on what I'm getting ready to talk about? I'm probably not getting the word right, but it's about good girls. Is it called Good Girls? Yeah. Oh, yes. It was true. It's true. And don't let any of those comments, distract you or make you want to take it offline. Women, we know it's true. Like you said, I think your comment goes both ways. I mean, of course it does, but you're the first one who I heard who put it out like that. And I said, that is so true. We know it's true. Don't we? You said it had to be said. And I said, it sure did. Yeah.
I got 7 sisters, so I'm not drawing from an empty, from an empty bottle.
Well, listen, I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. Okay. but I've got sisters too, so what, not blood sisters, but we all know how, we all know what can happen. And it's very unfortunate. We're enjoying putting it out there, so to speak. We're not laughing about it. We're just enjoying that people never want to hear the truth, right? But thank you for putting that out there. I really enjoyed that. I'll listen to it again after the video. I was also looking at something where you said that you do your own videos, and didn't you say you studied it or something?
Yeah, I do a lot of my own. So I edit all of my music videos. Sometimes I hire different videographers. But yeah, I'm very hands-on with my career just because I feel like nobody could tell my story like me. You know what I mean? No. And before I was able to afford videos and studio time and all that, I had to do those things by myself, because I'm from Dayton, Ohio. Like, it's a small town. It's not a whole lot of resources. So you really got to figure out a lot of things. It's not a lot of inspiration. So I had to just kind of draw that internally. So now that I got to acquire the skills, you know what I mean? I can do it forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's important. Like, you can teach a person to fish. How does it go? You can show a person how to fish, but if you teach them how to fish, they'll have fish forever, so to speak. And so you don't have to worry about that, because if for some reason you don't want to do it, and you can try and get someone else to do it, and if you can't find it, then you do it yourself. Absolutely. God bless the child who has his own, right? So I want to ask you something. This might get a little sticky, but we already talked about that. But what is your favorite video that you've done?
My favorite video of my own? That's a great question. So it's different reasons why. So you got songs and then you got videos. I think from a cinematic standpoint, like, my favorite video will be it's called When I Grow Up.
Oh,
So it's two little boys. It's like a white boy who grows up with both parents, and they invest in him, and a little black boy who grows up with his father had passed, and they both had a dream of being a magician, a famous magician. But by the end of the video, the white kid becomes like one of the greatest magicians in his hometown, and
Wow.
black kid ends up dying from violence in the community, and it was just
Mm.
because they had the same level of ambition, the same level of passion, the same level of like I want to be great. And the only difference is that the support system and the environment that they grew up in made them go down different paths. And the message that I had in that song, in that video, was just to tell people, like, before you just call these young black kids monsters and call them evil, and like they can't get it right, understand that they seeing a whole different reality than what you seeing. So like it's not that we want to give a pass, we want to give a pass on bad
Right.
behavior, but we
Right.
do have to some level of understanding of the environment that's creating monsters, you know what I mean? And I just wanted to show that picture from the inside out, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's important. Yeah, and I like how you explain that and put it out there, because sometimes people cannot um, make a connection between the difference. There's always a story behind the story, so to speak. And
Absolutely.
I was talking to a husband and wife, and both of them were teachers. And so he said that, at the end of the year, they put teachers on the bus because kids may want to fight and something like that. And he said, Miss Henley, when I saw what these kids go through and smelling the kerosene on me stuff, he said, then when I'm in the classroom, I can really understand, what they go through, and, just base it on, the life that, they are where they are now, so to speak. So I get it, and I really do, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I
We
am
good.
just so happy, to meet you and talk with you. And is it something else that I should have asked you that because I'm so excited until I'm brain fogged?
Well, I mean, I'm here. You know what I'm saying? I told you
Mm-hmm.
about the documentary that I've already been screening, but that's coming out. I told you I got card games and children's books that I'm coming out with on civic education. You know what I mean? You see my most recent video. I got more music coming soon. So as far as like just the update on everything, I think we covered that. But if you want to get into anything, I'm here. We got time. I'm chilling. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to be chilling with you too. Seriously, I want to see you just bigger, bigger, bigger. You're already big, but I just want your name to explode in North Carolina, because what you talk about is important. You're not some run of the mill type person, that doesn't know what you're talking about. You're very, very smart, and it shows in your videos. And my friends, we look at it. I just love it. We love it. So thank you again for who you are. And don't stop telling the truth and putting those videos out there, okay?
Thank you.
You
Thank you.
got to do that. Anything you want to ask me that?
No, I would say this as a politician, since you are running for senator. I think one problem that a lot of, or one wall that I feel like a lot of politicians run into when they're trying to just to get people who are not interested in voting to vote, is that they go into economics because that's the shiniest thing for people. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the place where that repels people the most. And the reason why is because people feel like, okay, like for the history of campaigns, political campaigns, it has always been this big promotion of I'm going to help you guys get more money, get more money, get more money, or I'll get you money in this area, that area, and it's not more money. I mean, so that's where a lot of people lose faith, because when they think of politics, they automatically think of economics. Like when I did my documentary, a part
Yeah.
of the whole thing was to go to the community and ask people, do you vote? Do you think voting is important? And then most of the guys specifically who said they didn't vote and they never thought it was important, they always said their response was, because where I'm from, we just get it how we get it. We just, we know how to get it. And it's like, yo, the fact that people, and I was that way too, the fact that people directly associate politics with economics and not, abortion laws and not, is eating school and, it's, and prison reform. It's so many things, like every little thing from the trash to the fire, you know what I'm saying? Like everything is tied. But a lot of people who are not politically, like, who don't want to be a senator or is not like really heavy into politics, their mind automatically thinks of what can I get. And if you show them things outside of money, I think people would be way more inclined to vote and not make it so much about how much money they can get. So that's game for anybody.
That's the truth. But, I want to say this too. I agree with you wholeheartedly. And one thing that I realized that we're going to have to do, I can't say that I'm not a politician, but I'm a retired inspector general, and I would say I am a retired diplomat as well. And my job was inspector general. The first thing I think that we're going to have to do is to restore people's faith in government. And until we do that, we're not going to get anywhere. We have thousands of registered voters, and normally only less than a half of those, I could say 1/4 of the people actually come out to the polls and vote for the same reason that you're talking about. And another thing I'm saying too, I don't know if you look at my bio, but I'm an Air Force veteran. And I'm saying that we've got to do more for veterans. We keep saying, oh, every politician said this, and it really annoys me so bad. And when they get in office, they never even mention us veterans on the floor. Every now and then they'll talk about this and this, but I went to a church just yesterday and I spoke about veterans, and I said, we have already done what we promised you what we would do, and that's keep America safe. So far, so good. But now it's time for you all to put your money where your mouth is and return, and honor what you said you would do for us. The veterans need help, both mental health and social, they need help, disability compensation and things like that. And then here in North Carolina, I don't know what minimum wage is where you are in Dayton, Ohio, but $7.25. Come on, Yellopain. You can't even buy a real good cup of coffee if you go to certain places for $7. It's just ridiculous. But then you can pass a sports betting law and things like that, and it's not right. And then we need to deal with mental health, and we have a lot of issues that we need to correct. But people keep putting the same people. I hope that you talk about this one day too. If after so many years, if that person has not produced the things that, not what they said they're going to do, but worked on the things that the people need at the grassroots level, increasing minimum wage, dealing with mental health, compensating veterans correctly, and things like that, then people aren't going to have too much faith. And when they see things happening for the large conglomerates, like the tax consequences for them is a whole lot less than it is for people like us. Well, I'll speak for myself, like people like me, and we want to see some tax relief too. And then I heard someone say, well, they're trying to pass some legislation so that the larger companies won't have to pay zero taxes. And my message to the news person who I was being interviewed by, I said, well, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Because if somebody is not paying taxes on one end, somebody's got to make up the difference. Because like what you're clearly saying in your videos, this is how things get done. The government is ran by taxes. That's where they get their revenue to pay the employees, to make sure that, the streets are being, taken care of and things like that. It just depends on, also I heard you saying that, at the state level, most of the time that's streets, and at the local level, that's things like, the sewage and garbage and, and the streets in some areas, not the state-owned streets. But We got to restore people's faith in government. We got to keep people out of office who rub elbows with other people. Well, let me just say this. I'm a Democrat, and I hope I don't mess up anything by saying this, but I am a Democrat. We got to keep people out. If you send somebody to your state house to represent your party, then they don't need to be rubbing elbows with another party until you can't tell whether they're Democrat or somebody else. We have to be true to what the people put us in office to do. And that's just the bottom line. And forget about party. Let's forget about party. We've got to be true to the people who we serve. And some of these funding has got to go to the poor.
See, the thing is, right?
Homelessness.
The thing is, in my opinion, the system works. The system works for the people who are voting. You know what I mean? And I think when people get in office, as much as they want to be revolutionary, the people that they want revolution for are not showing up. So you could get in office if you want and try to be the next Martin Luther King and push for all of these laws to be changed, and you would be right back out of there. You know what I'm saying? Until we can get the people who are not voting to understand the importance, it will continuously be a cycle of people changing their tones, because I don't even think it's fully the heart posture of the politicians. I honestly don't believe that. I believe that if you want to remain in your position, you have to cater to the people who are voting for you, because if you are preaching something that's opposite of the people who are showing up to vote for you, you will no longer be in office. So you have to tiptoe over your words. It's hard to really, as a black woman, they'll call you a loud black woman, or I forgot what it's called, with the phrase that they use.
With an attitude.
Whatever. But
right.
But yeah, but they'll label you, and the second you try to become revolutionary, and the problem is the people that you want to be revolutionary for are not showing up to support you, and that's not you specifically. I just mean somebody that really wants to see change, especially in the inner city and in the community. So I think the biggest solution is education at this point. And I don't mean in a boring way. It got to be something that allows people to know, like, hey, the system is working. It's just not working for me because I'm not participating in the system. You know what I mean? And I think that's the biggest thing that has not been done since Martin Luther King and them was marching down to the ballots. Like, we need that same level of revolution in the education from a non-politician. To be honest, Martin Luther King wasn't running for senator, you know what I'm saying? But he had thousands of ballot boxes, and it was just because, they wanted to see laws be changed. Now, they had a specific agenda, you know what I mean, as far as segregation and equality, but we got a lot of different things that we need to be changing. And even equality is still, in different ways, it's still on the ballot. So I think that's really the biggest thing, is like, we have to get the people, we have to come down to the level of the people and let them know why it's important. And we cannot go straight into, like, you're going to get some more money, because that ain't going to get it. You know what I mean? You got to let them know that that's doing 25 years for a marijuana charge, we can get a bill passed to get them out in 3 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's going to resonate way more than, trying to tell somebody about money. You know what I mean? Because, people, like, they going to get it how they get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, your point is very well taken, and I understand what you are saying. Civics is so important, and I started out by saying that to you, that we've got to educate people on why they actually need to vote and what happens when they do vote, and that just one vote can change things. Just one vote. I have a friend years ago, and she was in a small town, but she won by one vote. Only about 8 people were voting now. Like I said, it's a small town in North Carolina, but she won by that one vote. So that means that you can win like that. But I think that the school system needs to focus more in on our civic duty. And it's not too young to ever start to learn about that. And maybe take a day off when you take the kids to the polls or something like that. I agree with you, and I also realize I do have a tendency to want to save the world. because I'm so passionate about. That's what I'm saying. Your point is very well taken. But there's just some things that it don't take a rocket scientist to figure out and just do it. Like minimum wage and things, small things like that. But you're right. Until we start explaining, until people know the dynamics surrounding it, then they're probably not going to vote because they don't understand, where your tax dollars go.
Yeah.
Why you need to monitor you need to vote for who's going to properly manage those tax dollars. I guess basically that's what, we're saying the same thing, but
we're going to change that. We're going to change that.
We can change that. I think we can change the world.
We
I think you can do it. I
Well,
might not be able to do it, but I think you got this. So thank you for that. And thank you for your conversation and for your kindness and for your insight into things. And do you mind if we put this one blast?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Go for it then. Okay, we got this.
If he
I got a request now. Say what?
Ask him if he ever thought about running in the politics.
Oh yes, that's right. Had you ever thought about running for office?
I haven't. My rap schedule too busy. I wouldn't be very good now. Maybe when I get older and the music slow down and I got less, then I could really focus on my position. Then I would love probably way later though.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, I tell you. But someday, you're still a young man, and you maybe someday you'll do that. I think that, I'm a believer, and I think that someday God's going to put you right there. It's going to be the way it happened to me in Epiphany, where you say, I think I'm going to run for governor or something like that, or president.
I never foresaw. I could tell you for sure that was never part of my dream coming up as a kid to run for no political. But you never know.
It never is. You like I said, you have an epiphany, or something happens in your life where you say, okay. They say if you don't want to run for office and don't complain, or if you don't want to help someone who is running, you shouldn't complain or something like that. But I think that one day that's where you're going to be because you're too knowledgeable about it. You're too good a debater. And most people, how you came back on what I said was just so perfect. I love you for that. Thank you so much. You're a biggest fan. Gardenia Henley. Thank you so much. And I'm going to go ahead. I don't, Miss Faith, you want to, but thank you. And how do we get back in contact with each other? Will you give us that information? Do we already have it? Okay,
I give it to her.
Yeah, Pink Talk Podcast. Let's thank Pink Talk Podcast for this interview too, because it was awesome. And when she told me, I was beside myself. So I didn't get much sleep. I was so excited about this interview. So I'm going to blame you for that, but in a good way. God bless you. God bless you. Love you much. And thank you.
It's a blessing talking to you.
The blessing is mine.